who worship Lucifer or Satan do not really know who they worship. And he says there are many people in the metaphysical world, for example, who don't even really know. They talk about worshiping an energy force. He says, but we who are in the Satanist realm, we have a precise grip on who we worship. So they do know, and many people, of course, they love to debate Christians. I'll remember when I was up in Seattle, Washington, some years ago, and I was debating skeptics as well as witches. And one of the lead witches, head of a big coven there in the Seattle area, this was on King TV. I think it's the NBC or CBS affiliate. But in any case, at a big town meeting, a witch got up and just blasted me. And she said, how dare you accuse us witches of worshiping Satan? I'll have you know we don't even believe in Satan. Satan is a Christian invention. And I came right back at her, and I let her know, informed her that I'd studied witchcraft for many, many years. I received all of their journals, magazines, had read all their books from the top witches around the world. And I said, not only do you worship a goddess, but you worship Pan, the horned god of the forest, in his male or masculine form. I said, do you not? And she came back, and she was almost frightened. She couldn't believe that anybody would even know this. And she says, well, yes, we worship Pan, the horned god, but that's not Satan. So, again, we get into this Orwellian language thing, but this is way beyond technology. This goes into spirituality, and it really is involved in magic, the invocation of demons. For example, much of the architecture is built on the basis of Eastern religions and worship of certain beings. Let me give you one example of that. Architect Louis Kahn is a very famous architect today, and he built the Salk Center. Now we're getting back to the the vaccinations. You mentioned Tamiflu and some of those things people shouldn't take. Well, he designed the Salk Center. Now he is one of these people that I profile in Mysterious Monuments. Now this is a medical facility near La Jolla, California. They're going to come out with new ways to give us vaccines and so forth. His design is inspired by Lao Tzu's Taoism, that's the yin-yang equilibrium, Tibetan mandalas, the 7 chakras of the Hindus, and when asked about his design, and I have a picture of it in the book, several pictures, of the Salk Center, Khan said it serves the spirit, the divine or sacred nature of the building, he said, can be experienced by people who enter it. He says, in the end, it promotes a life force and spirit so that the spirit of the building takes over. So supposedly you go in this building, and its spirit, it's a living entity. Now, Jason, you and I say, oh, poppycock. Not this. And I do, because these people use, magical geometry, numerology, astrology, and all kinds of nonsensical things. But you see, here's the point about it. These people are billionaires, millionaires. They are the people in charge. They are the ones who constructed Washington, D.C., and they are the ones, when you see the architecture of the Batman movies, of The Dark Knight and others, and you see the architecture of Chicago and New York with all the gargoyles, the demon statues on top of buildings, they're the ones who built these things, and they gave them spiritual meaning and importance. We can laugh about it, but they're in charge.
Exactly. That's the point I often make to people. I'm saying, especially to people who are atheists, I always say to them, because I'm not very religious myself, and I try not to, put it out there, but I say to them, if there really is nothing to religion at all, then how come the elites are so deeply into the occult, and how come they control everything? It seems like, and then you tell them, occult, by its very definition, is just hidden. It's hidden knowledge. So you look at these people and, like that witch talking to you and saying, oh, well, yeah, we worship Pan, but she'll probably make the argument that that's just earth worship or Gaia worship. We don't believe that. But these beings, these entities seem to overlap throughout history.
Yeah, they do. And of course, I do believe in a devil. I believe in spirits. I don't fear them at all as a Christian. But if these people believe in these things and they even fear them and they serve them, then we have a real problem. For example, if a Hitler were to be a secret member of a group called the Thule Society, and it taught the Aryan race and other concepts, well, then we begin to understand what happened in World War II.
Yeah, and he uses a sun symbol, and he really believed in the occult powers of symbols. Just look at the SS logo. We'll be back with Texe Mars discussing Codex Magica and mysterious monuments. It's the Info Warrior, PrisonPlanet.com, InfoWars. All right, we are streaming live over at PrisonPlanet.tv. It's the Info Warrior with Jason Burmas, and we're with Texe Mars discussing Codex Magica and mysterious monuments. Before we go any further, and I really want to get into the pentagram symbolism and the Dog Star Sirius, but how does a guy like you, these books are, these are about the thickest books you can get. They're the best books I think you can get, by the way. I remember when Codex Magica first came out, I'm like, finally, someone put it all together. This thing, whether you agree with it or not, or agree with every single little photograph or detail, it is just a plethora of knowledge on occult hand signs. There's architecture in here. It really, really gets down into the nitty-gritty. How do you get started into something like this? Well,
Jason, first of all, thank you. You compliment me more than I perhaps deserve. But
oh, no, sir.
About, let's say, it was 1982, I left the Air Force. And actually, I was quite interested in high technology. So for the layman, and I wrote, set up a publishing house, and published a number of high-tech books. I was the first guy to do an encyclopedia of personal robots. And it was a main selection of the Computer Book Club, the Electronic Book Club. I did one of the first books on careers with robots or robotics. Careers in computers, many books like that I published for major publishers. But I really, in 1986, I became a Christian, dedicated myself to Christ and to exposing darkness in the world. I'll tell you, there's a lot of darkness out there to expose, Jason. For example, I first began to expose the occult and the history of occultism going all the way back to ancient Babylon, even to Mesoamerica. Then I had a visit from a young man who was a graduate of Yale University, quite brilliant, and he said, when I was at Yale University, I did a paper, some original research, on an organization called Skull and Bones. And no one's ever seen this paper that I've done because, I was a student there, but would you like to have it? And he says, there's more than just the occult world. There are these secret societies. So that sort of spiraled me off into that with his research. And so, in any case, as I spread out, I discovered that the ones who were behind these huge peace organizations, the environmental organizations, and the occult were the same as in the secret societies. The same names keep coming up over and over at the very top, whether it's the Bohemian Grove or Skull and Bones, Freemasonry, Ordo Templi Orientis, and I discovered that the money men. Let me give you a small example of that, if I could, because it's so shocking, you almost won't believe it. On top of the Standard Oil building, now this is Standard Oil, the Rockefeller building, okay, in New York City. Believe it or not, it's a skyscraper built by John D. Rockefeller, okay, the Rockefeller, who founded Standard Oil, from which we have today, everything from ExxonMobil to Texaco, etc. On top of it is a great Mayan pyramid. Really, it's more than that. It is the very recreation of the tomb of Mausolus. Now, Mausolus was a king in ancient Greece. And the very word mausoleum came from King Mausolus. He built a tomb for him.